Hey everybody, my name is Alex Turner. I am a mortgage broker with Aslan Home Lending, and I am so grateful to be on the Invest in Denver podcast here with Ian. I am a Colorado native, and I love Colorado. I've been here my whole life. You can't get me to leave. One of my favorite things to do is to actually go skiing in Vail. And I used to kind of think Vail was like a snobby mountain where only the rich people skied. And I got the Epic local pass last year, and I used all 10 days at Vail because the back bowls are just so amazing. You get so much good powder, and you can really hit it hard and just lap that. I think I got like 40,000 vertical feet in one day of skiing at Vail, which I don't really do that often. And so to be able to do that and have so much open terrain, Vail is where it's at. And it's only like 2 hours away from Denver, so it's a great place to be. And skiing is definitely probably like my biggest hobby here in Colorado.
Love to hear it, man. And thanks for the quick insight on the whole Vail scene. So that pretentious, rich, snobby people, that's over in Aspen, right? As opposed to Vail?
I would say yes, 100%, but also you're going to find snobs kind of in any ski resort. It's definitely a high barrier to entry hobby, but it's so much fun. I've been skiing my whole life, and so I like to hit it pretty hard and go on those blacks and double blacks and really hit moguls a lot. So finding good terrain is like you trip over it in Colorado. You could ski any resort and you have great time. So Vail just it's extra large, and so there's just a little bit more of that cool terrain to ski down.
Yeah, and I only bring up the whole Aspen aspect of it just because I am a huge fan of Dumb and Dumber, and that's the first thing that I thought of because they just bring up Aspen so much, and there was just this the big wig situation, like benefit shows and things like that. I don't know if it's true because I've never personally been to Aspen, but it sounds like the back bowls and the whole Vail scene, there's something for everyone there. And with you being a fan, especially being a Colorado native, there's something to be said about that. So tell us a little bit about the whole back bowl scene. I mean, like, what does that even mean? I don't even know what back bowl even means.
Yeah, I honestly I didn't know what it was either because I skied Vail for the first time last season, and so I grew up skiing like Winter Park, Mary Jane, Keystone, did a little bit at A Basin, and they all have their fair share of steep terrain. But the back bowls in Vail, so you go up to the top of the mountain. I think they have a gondola that'll take you right up to the middle of the mountain, and then you take a lift all the way to the top. And so there's a whole front side of Vail, which is relatively like family friendly skiing. Lots of, pretty easy, groomed runs that you can either do the catwalks down them, but you're going to run into a lot of the crowds because Vail is such an international like resort to go to. And so I found that when you get to the top of the mountain, there's a literal gate that says the legendary back bowls, and you go through that gate and then it just opens up. There's like no trees or anything, and it's just this like sweeping mountainscape of just like wide open terrain with easy way downs, but then there's also kind of like more difficult, steeper terrain that you can navigate to. And the runs are super long. It takes, 15, 20 minutes to get down a run versus, when you're on the front side, you can get to a lift in maybe like 5 or 10 minutes, depending on how fast you go, of course. But the back bowls, the reason they're called the back bowls is because it's just wide open terrain with no trees and just bowl shaped mountains.
Nice. I love to see it, man. I feel like you should be an author, man, or some sort of writer because I pictured that in my mind's eye so clearly. I love it, dude. And as far as the gates that you mentioned, the moment that you said the gates and then going into the back bowls and how heavenly that was, I was like, dude, call it the pearly white gates. Call it what it is. Like, this is heaven, it sounds like. So, like I mentioned before, Alex Turner, thank you so much for being on the Invest in Denver podcast. This is a genuine pleasure and a long time coming, man. I know we've been in and out of meetups and just hanging out, texting with each other, and also just you've been in the Colorado scene for a while, not just the skiing portion of it, but also seeing the festivals. Like you go out and about, and that's something that I like to extract from you as well and give out to the audience as far as like what's there to do in Colorado? What's there to do that, like, to hang out or enjoy yourself in the seasons, whatever season it is? So I know with what festivals have you gone to, or what concerts have you gone to that someone should experience here in the Colorado scene?
Yeah, this is honestly something that is newer for me. I'm exploring it. So I just went to my first music festival, but that was out in Washington. So we won't even talk about that. That's nothing to do with Denver. But growing up in Colorado, I've been surrounded and blessed by the epic Red Rocks concert venue. And so one of the festivals that I went to recently was called Rowdy Town. Big Gigantic came and played, Joyride came and played, Enzo came and played, all like EDM type style music. And the thing that I think I love about that scene and that community is that everybody is so non-judgmental, and you can go and you can dress up in crazy colors and tie-dye and throw in, stickers and glitter on your face and just go and have a good time and dance and enjoy the music. And so that's what I did probably most recently, was that concert at Red Rocks. And Big Gigantic, yes, he's EDM, but he also can throw down with some dirty saxophone. And so he got up on stage and was doing live saxophone. And I don't know what it is about a saxophone, but it like touches my soul. And so we were just getting down and dancing. Before that, I went to Fiddler's Green, which is right here in DTC, the Denver Tech Center. And that is an awesome venue because it's very easy to get to. I went and saw Odessa there, and that show blew my mind. I could not believe that there could be a production that was just so clean. They had, this live percussion set that came up, and all of the drums were like LED drums. So they're like drumming to the beat, and then the lights were flashing on the drums. And then they had fireworks shooting at the same time that the beat was dropping. And it was just such a cool experience. So, between like Fiddler's Green, Red Rocks, you have a bunch of other like smaller venues. You have, Cervantes, the Mission Ballroom, Bluebird, the Ogden. There's a lot of good places to go and listen to any type of music, and not even necessarily EDM. That's what I've been getting into lately. But I recently went and saw Slender Bodies at the Gothic Theater, and that was like a super just like mellow, chill, like alternative style music. And again, I think that you find this with a lot of people that are either moving to Colorado or have been to Colorado. You don't find a person who isn't friendly. And so everybody you're talking to at a concert is just there to have a good time, easy to talk to, and it's just overall a good vibe when you're out and listening to music.
Yeah, dude. And the whole Red Rocks experience was pretty new to me as well. I mean, I've lived here for just over 2 years now, and this is the first Red Rocks concert. I've done myself a disservice by not going there anytime sooner. The Head and the Heart, just like folky, Americana. I love that band, and me and Kat, like my wife, we grew up with that band in a way. Like I think their first album, which we absolutely adored, came out like 8, 9, 10 years ago or something like that. So luckily they, with these concerts, initially when I was a kid, I thought they were only going to be playing their newer stuff, but I forget that they play like the hits, and we were so stoked seeing them. And we're going to be seeing Rez, if you're familiar, during like Halloween, like at the end of October. So we already got our costumes ready for Red Rocks. And speaking everything to what you're saying, like we're not afraid going in there, like making a fool of ourselves and like dressing up in costumes, So I'm going to be going as, if you're familiar with Stranger Things, I'm going to be going as Dustin, and
Nice.
wearing the Camp Nowhere shirt, like a green shirt. And then Kat's going to go as, oh my gosh, I forgot his name, but the guy, the Hellraiser guy, the D&D dungeon master from the latest season. I forgot his name,
Wow.
but anywho.
Yeah, why do I want to say his name's like Eric or something like that? I don't remember either.
For real. But yeah, I mean, like, to your point, I mean, it's just a good time. People are just very friendly there, and they just want to experience the music and experience the ambiance. So I'm glad you're experiencing it, man. Is there a venue that you have yet to experience in the greater Metro Denver area or even beyond that is on your bucket list?
Oh, geez, that is a very good question. I will say I have not gone to a concert in Boulder, and I know
Mm.
that there's like um, I think it's Finley Stadium that is on the University of Boulder campus, and that would be a cool one to go to because you're sitting right next to the Flatirons, and Boulder's such a beautiful city to go and visit, and then to be surrounded by music, like that would just be an amazing experience. So I'd say probably there is one that I have not explored yet. I personally went to Colorado State University in Fort Collins, and so I did actually see Head in the Heart. They do like their orientation concert, and so that was my freshman year. We went and saw the Head in the Heart.
No way.
Yeah, so it's funny you bring that up because I've definitely seen them live, and that was a great concert to do just with all the CSU students. And then also in Fort Collins, if you drive through the Pooter Canyon, there's a smaller venue called the Mishawaka. And that is such a cool, intimate outdoor venue because unlike Red Rocks, I think the cap is maybe like 500, maybe 1,000 people in that range. Whereas Red Rocks, you
Mhm.
know, you're probably got like 20,000 people shoved in that amphitheater. So that one's a lot more
Right.
intimate and you're like right on this river and it's just super cool. So I would say also is another highly rated venue that I've been to that I really, really enjoy.
Nice. Thanks, man. That's something for me to pursue as well. Because, like I said, I've done myself a disservice by not going to enough shows these days. I myself grew up with the whole emo pop punk scene as well. So I guess the first technical concert that we went to was over at the Fillmore Auditorium to go see Newfound Glory and 4 Years Strong. So I had the pleasure to mosh again in for the first time for like 7 or 8 years or something like that. So it was a
Oh,
grand
dude,
old time and I got sweaty. So I loved it, man.
dude, that's a great. I
But
love a good mosh pit, man. Like that's just energy you can't match.
no joke. And bruises to speak for it too. I love it.
Jeez.
But yeah, man. I mean, I'm glad that you're big into the whole Colorado scene. I mean, the music scene, the outdoor scene. I love it. Another thing that's here in the Denver area is Bigger Pockets, and not many
Mm.
people know that it's the HQ is in the city of Denver. So I know that we got to see each other a little bit more often just because I saw you over at BPCON over in San Diego. So it was a blast over there myself, but I want to hear your experience over there. Was there anything that you took away from it? And what even made you go?
Yeah, that was really awesome. I'm glad that we were able to bump into each other there. I mean, we both kind of had coordinated that we would be there beforehand, and it was really exciting because I am the only person that went from my company, and I was
Mm.
like reaching out to some of my colleagues, "Hey, I think this would be a cool opportunity to like meet people and network." And like you mentioned that BP is headquartered in Denver. And so I think that there was a lot of people from the greater Denver area that came to BPCon. So not only networking with people around the country, but also being able to network with other people that are in my local market and kind of see what they're doing in terms of their investments and figure all of that out. But to kind of circle back to your question, what was like my biggest takeaway from there? I would say the networking was the top tier, but then the seminars and the breakout sessions that they had were so informative. And it was like day one was technically Sunday. I didn't go to that. Day two, which I think was day one, was Monday, and every single seminar I went to, I was just like, "Holy cow!" Like, there's so much good information. Like, I have pages and pages of notes from the different seminars that I went to. If I had to pick, and I just filled out the questionnaire as to like, how was BPCon? It was like, which one was your favorite? I was like, oh, this one, but also this one, and this one was good too, and this one too. So I think I had four favorite ones. The first one was 0 to 38 doors
Mm.
in under 3 years, and the speaker on that was Rachel Richards, and she is actually local to Denver. I found out as well, and she was just very inspiring to listen to. She's about our age. I think she's like 27 now, and she has 38
Mhm.
units and she said that she's retired now, like she just does, passive investing. And so to hear that kind of story from somebody who's not that much older than me was really, really inspiring. I think the keynote that David Green gave was also very inspiring. He kind of instilled that real estate is a good investment. And if you look over the course of history, we've had, a couple of blips, a big one being 2008. But as long as you keep it as a long-term investment, houses continue to appreciate, and it is a good long-term investment strategy. And so that was really, inspiring to hear. And I think that not a single person that I talked to was worried about rising interest rates. And they're like, it's just one of those equations where you make the numbers make sense for you, whether you're doing a house hack or if you're just doing straight investment properties. It's about finding a good deal that works, and then you just hold on to it. And over time, you're going to see returns. So that was inspiring to listen to. Another one that was good was getting young people interested. It was getting people under 25 interested in real estate. I really like that because I'm the oldest of 4 kids. And so to hear how to kind of communicate that to my younger siblings and getting them interested, they're so involved in TikTok and that kind of thing. It's all about changing your verbiage when you're talking to these people. And so to kind of hear his perspective on, and that guy was also local to Denver. So maybe I just only liked the people that talked.
Who was that?
That was Dan Sheeks that did that one. And he runs a
Cheeks
community.
Freaks, right?
Cheeks Freaks, exactly. And so he talked about that Cheeks Freaks community of young people, 21-year-olds, 18-year-olds that are buying their first property. And I was just like, this is cool. You're making a huge difference in these people's lives. And if you can introduce people to kind of building an investor type of mindset early on, it's going to serve them so much better than any other formal education, I think, will. So that was a good one.
100%.
And then I would say my last favorite one was the creative financing panel. So being a lender myself, I always fall into the mindset of you got to follow the rules and the guidelines. And yes, I'm fortunate in that we have the in the box conventional FHA, VA type of loans, but then we also have non-conventional loans for investors or people that are self-employed that don't claim income taxes. And so to hear that there's other types of financing, doing seller financing or subject to or seller carrybacks, those are things that I've heard of, but I didn't fully understand until I sat in that seminar or that panel. And after that one, I went and I bought 3 of the books at BPCON because I was like, I need to learn about this as quickly as I possibly can.
And that was a huge benefit too of purchasing the books over there. You get it for a pretty significant discount. I think if you got 3 books or more, it was 30% off for the whole thing. It was pretty cool. And then, man, so much to touch on. I know Dan Sheeks with Sheeks Freaks. So Taylor Thompson on the FI team, he actually went through that program with Dan Sheeks. He was, so he bought his first house hack at 18 and learned about house hacking through Dan. And he's on his 3rd property right now, and he's 21. So, I mean, the dude is making insane cash flow on the thing, doing rent by the room strategies. I think he bought a 5-bed, 3-bath. He was recently on the podcast, about to be released. By the time this episode comes out, maybe late October or something like that. But I mean, the story is great, and he's all about traveling as well, which I got more information out of that because I know how to house hack, but travel hack, what is this? So not only did he get the whole build your financial independence as soon as possible situation, but he was able to live his life the way he wants to live as well. And I'm like, dude, if I learned this 10 years ago, oh my God, this is the stuff that I wanted to learn, So credit card hacking, leveraging the points and all that good stuff. I learned so much from Taylor, and the dude is just 21. So Cheeks Freaks, I am a huge fan of the whole organization. So Dan, keep it up if you're listening to this. I love it. And then lastly, before that, you mentioned Rachel Richards, Money Honey Rachel. I mean, she made a really good book, 2 good books, that whole passive investing, aggressive retirement, and the Money Honey book. I forgot the full name of it, but nonetheless, it's such an approachable book, and the returns on that with self-publishing, doing all the advertising and marketing herself. Great book, even better person. So you definitely got to go reach out to Rachel Richards. Go on Instagram and go check her out. Money Honey Rachel. Should not be that hard to find her because she's pretty popular.
I
But
will say
yes.
though, don't get scammed. I got reached out by multiple like fake Money Honey accounts that were like,
Mm.
"Hey, I can help you with investing in Bitcoin." And I was like, I feel like everybody probably gets those messages on Instagram. And I had to verify with another friend. I was like, this isn't her account. And she's like, no, 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 that's not her. And so I was like, okay, good. So be careful out there because those things do exist, and it sucks that they're trying to scam other people based off of the success that Rachel has had. Because when
Mhm.
you hear her talk and you see her present, she is so humble, and she will admit that she doesn't know the first thing about Bitcoin. So be weary of making sure you follow that correct Money Honey account.
Word of wisdom there. Appreciate that, Alex. I know I haven't gotten scammed myself, but I definitely see those like scammer pages reaching out to me like, I don't think you're the one to really talk about foreign exchange stuff or whatever, the Forex trading and all that good stuff. So, but cheers, man. I appreciate that. And overall experience, I heard the next one's going to be in Orlando. Am I going to be seeing you there?
Yeah, man. I think that I had mentioned before we got on that I just had a closing earlier today, and so I'll be getting paid soon, which is nice.
Woo!
That paycheck is going straight to Bigger Pockets Conference for Orlando next year, and I will definitely be there. I had such a great time and could not recommend it highly enough because it was just such a fun environment to be around all of these like-minded people and super supportive. Like, I'm in a point in my investing career where I don't have any properties. And so you show up to this conference where there's people that have 30, 40, some people even like Brandon Turner was there and he's got 7,000 units. And you're like, oh my gosh, like this is overwhelming to be around all these people that are doing things. And here I am just sitting on the sideline, like trying to get my first property, and everybody was so supportive. They're like, "Oh, you're going to try to do a
Mm.
house hack? That's awesome. Like I wish I had started doing a house hack when I first got into like my first home, and you got it, man. Like keep it up." And so to be around that kind of positive energy was unlike anything else.
Oh, for sure, man. And what was great about that too is that whenever I bring up house hacking to a lot of my friends and family, they are like, "Wait, so you're living with strangers and you're getting money from them? Like, number one, like, do you know the laws of landlording and all that good stuff?" And there's so much doubt. There's so much like limiting beliefs that they have already. And I'm like, dude, this is my third property, and I'm doing this. I've been doing this since San Diego, like a blue state in California. Like, I don't understand why you still think there's all these doubts. Why not do it yourself and see the success or the results that I'm getting? You know, like I want you on this train, you know? So a lot of the Bigger Pockets people, when I was hanging out with them, I'm no longer the freak. Everyone there is as freakish as me, you know, like they're all house hacking, they're all investing, they're all doing the real estate thing. And I'm, if anything, I look normal compared to a lot of these people. And, you know, so there's some other people out there that like, well, like Brandon Turner, David Green, the big wigs out there, they have some gnarly portfolios, and you're like, wow, I want to get to there. You know, it sets
Hmm.
the aspirations. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. And depending on your strategy or depending on what you want to do with your investments, there's something for everyone there. So
Hmm.
that's the last thing I'll say about BPCon, because I had a blast myself. So especially being in San Diego, it's nice to be back home.
I'm
So
sure. Yeah,
cool.
I had never been to San Diego, and it was such a beautiful city, and the weather was just like on point. Like I knew and that California it was a desirable place to live, but I've been there once. Like I went to Carlsbad when I was maybe 7 years old, And this was my first time back in California. And I actually booked an extra day after BPCON to just go and walk around the city. And so I got to go to Balboa Park and see all the Spanish architecture in the park. I went to the Japanese Friendship Garden and just put in some
Nice.
peaceful music and walked around there. And that was just such a nice way to kind of decompress from the hustle and bustle that was BPCon, and then to just like really soak in the beauty that is San Diego. And so that's the other thing I'm looking forward to for next year, BPCon in Orlando. I've never been to Florida. And so
Mm.
this will be another new adventure for me. And I'm thinking maybe I should just book an extra week and do the whole Universal Studios and maybe go down to a beach or
Disney World.
something. Yeah, Disney World. Like I want to do it. I want to like live it up because like, when you have an opportunity to go and make something a business trip, but you can also make it a kind of fun vacation as well, it's like, why not kill two birds with one stones and, just live and enjoy your life? And that's one of the things that I found being in real estate provides the most is like the freedom to choose how you spend your time as
Mm.
long as you're doing it efficiently. And I think, BPCon was a very efficient way of meeting people, learning, growing myself personally, and then also a little vacation to Balboa Park for a day.
Not a bad gig. No, I mean, this is all something that people should understand going into it. Like, go around your tribe. And I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but the final nail in the coffin is like, surround yourself with people that you like and enjoy, that enjoy the same things that you like to do. It doesn't have to be real estate related. Like I myself, I'm trying to join a running club as well. And I just signed up for my first 50K over in April. And I'm like, I have never ran anything over 26 miles. So this is me trying to set myself up with other people that
Mhm.
have done the same thing or want to get to that point as well. So get your tribe, live in there, work with those same people. So
I
yeah,
like how
you
you said
want
that
to say something?
super casually. I've never ran anything more than 26 miles. Yeah, that's not like a small feat, Ian. Like I did a half marathon and it about killed me. And that was only 13 miles and I could not do anything more than that. So that's super exciting to hear that you got that signed up on the books. Good for you. More running for you, less for me.
Cheers, man. I'll represent myself. My last name will be Turner for the
Perfect.
race.
Perfect. That's
But I, yeah, with the fight team itself, like even within the fight team, there's like 3, 4, 5 people that signed up for half Ironmans or full Ironmans, and these guys, I mean, they're people that I know, like, and trust already. And little did I know that these guys are insane on the athletic ability. So that I brought that goal upon myself not too long ago, maybe about a couple weeks ago. I was like, you know what? I want to get to these guys' level, except for the swimming part and maybe the biking part. I'll just run. So I'm just going to be running that 50K. Well, just right. But
yeah, just.
those people really they really push me, and other people that push you outside your comfort zone, it just makes you a more interesting human being. And to be honest, why live a boring life? Just make it interesting. Even if you fail, like break a leg or something, like it's a cool story. I'm starting to
Mhm,
learn that more
mhm.
and more as I live my life. So, but with that being said, man, there's so much more about the real estate community and the industry itself that I want to dive a little bit deeper on the Aslan, the lending portion of it. I know you've just dedicated a lot of your 9 to 5, your W-2 job to the lending portion of it. So what even got you into that lending industry? What got you into Aslan, and how are you liking it so far?
Yeah, so I started with Aslan 2.5 years ago, and that was right before the pandemic. And so I graduated Colorado State University in December of 2019. I got my degree in neuroscience, thinking that I would go to medical school or a PhD, and then I was burnt out by like year 3 and I was driven enough to complete the degree. And so that's what I did. I added a business minor and graduated, started looking for jobs that were in like pharmaceutical sales or medical device sales, something where I didn't have to go and get more education because I just knew I couldn't do any more school, and had a
Mhm.
bunch of interviews lined up. and they all fell through at the announcement of COVID-19 and the shutdown. And so I didn't
Wow.
have anything lined up. I had gone and shadowed a family friend for a lending position at Aslan. Kind of got a feel for what it was, but I was just like, I should probably try to get a job that's in my industry. Like, that's what my background is. And when it all fell through, I reached out to that family friend and I was like, hey, I need a job. Can I get a job? And so they were kind enough to say, yeah, but you got to get licensed. So I took the next month and a half to go through the education of getting my mortgage originator license. Took the test, passed it, and started working for Aslan in June of 2020. And it was cool. Like, my experience was I came in and I worked as that friend's loan officer assistant. And that was right when rates started just totally getting down to the ground.
Mm,
2.75%, 3% interest rates. And so her business blew up with refinances, people trying to
sure.
purchase. And so I came in and I was handling all of the behind the scenes processing to make sure that the loans were going smooth. And so I got my hands on, I think we closed 75 transactions my first year. And so just that sheer amount of volume
Mm,
really kind of got me up to speed with the pace that is real estate, because things are always moving. You have to keep building up your pipeline. You have to make sure you're hitting the deadlines. And it was a very stressful position, but it was something that I knew that I could handle. And I did that for about a year. And then it was last September, so almost a year ago now, that I branched out from underneath her and became a full-time originator on my own. And it's just been an awesome ride since. My business has been doing very, very good, I would say, for being my first full year on my own. And
mm,
I feel like because I know the systems and the processes of getting through the mortgage side of things, it just makes it a lot easier when I get referrals to clients. I know how to talk to them, make a good connection, and answer the questions. Like, I know the answers to their questions. And it's like one of those things that I was surprised in myself when somebody's like, well, how does it work with a down payment? And I'm like, oh, well, you don't have to put 20% down. You can do 5% down or whatever. And that one's like simple, that's a simple question.
hmm.
But just all this information that I kind of accumulated over my first year, it's in my head and I know it. And it's just about, spreading that knowledge with other people. And that's the thing I really like about lending the most, is it's such an educational position to be in, because we're not taught finances. We're not taught how mortgages work, how taxes, how credit, any of that works. And so to be able to be the person that you're talking to potential clients about, this is how it works, this is what you should do, this is how you prepare and plan for it. I just feel like I'm, helping people in a way that our education system just is not set up to do. So I really love
Yeah.
it. I've been doing it, like I said, 2.5 years, a year on my own now, and I don't see myself stopping anytime soon.
Love to hear it, man. Having a lender in your sphere of influence is pretty important, especially me as a realtor as well, because everyone needs it. Well, for the most part, unless you're doing all cash. But the whole lending side is fascinating to me, and I've learned so much just being almost through osmosis, like being next to you, next to other loan officers, being like, "Whoa, I didn't even know that existed." Not just like the QM loans, but like the loans that you were mentioning earlier to get creative. DSCR loans, 5% down, 3% down, CHAFA, like down payment assistance programs. Like, I had no idea so many tools exist for my clients and even for me as an investor in the Denver area.
Mhm.
Like, it's amazing what you guys can provide. And I would say have one in your sphere of influence, if not Alex Turner. Definitely have him at your repertoire. So going back to the whole like volume aspect of it, I'm learning too that like the more you do anything, the better you are at it. And the moment that it gets boring, it means that you know it inside and out. And that's something that I've learned as like a consumer of Reels, Instagram, social media. Like Alex Hormozy, if you're familiar, he's all about like the sales, the business, and it's volume that sets apart you from like the men from the boys, right? When you are like just through osmosis learning from your family friend, like what can I do with this certain loan or with this certain transaction? It really helps knowing that you had a year behind you getting 75 transactions done. Like, okay, I've seen this before. I can now speak with confidence in this aspect. So now, how long have you been in the industry now? So it's about 2 years going on 3 now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll hit my 3 year mark in June of 23. So I started June 2020. It's easy to track because it's a nice even 20 number. And so so I'm at 2.5 years now, a little under 2.5 years now, and I'll be at 3 years coming up next summer.
Okay. And what kind of clients do you usually work with?
Yeah, I would say my biggest pool of clients has been probably first time home buyers. I have been really trying to tap into the investor space though, because I think, that was one of my motivations going to BPCON is to meet more investors. And the reason I really
Mm.
like working with investors or just people that are interested in real estate as an investment, they look at it differently. They're a little bit less emotional about the house and more into the numbers, which for me, it makes sense. I'm a numbers guy. I'm a lender, and so I am looking at numbers and pulling it all together every single day. And so when I'm having those conversations, I can be very frank with an investor and be like, all right, this is the interest rate, this is the cost of the loan, this is the down payment. And they'll say, oh, that down payment doesn't work for me. Do you have a down payment option that's, 15% and 20 instead of 20%? And then it's like, oh, okay.
Mm.
Yes, I do actually. I have another lender that we can do that, but you're going to see a little bit of a higher interest rate because that's a risk to the lender. And so being able to explain that and having them understand it, I've really enjoyed working with those types of clients the most in the last year. But I would say most often I'm working with first time homebuyers. And I think the difference with first time homebuyers is it comes back to that education standpoint. Like there's
Mm.
so much that they don't understand when it comes to getting a mortgage, how taxes work, how insurance works, getting it set up for them so that, they have an escrow account. A lot of people are like, what's an escrow account? And so
Right.
you get to explain all of these super, what I think would be typically considered boring topics, but you get to explain it in a way that they can digest, and that's also very rewarding to see them understanding the process and then also know that I am here as a resource if they ever need help. Like, oh, here I have a really good story of what happened yesterday. I
Let's hear it.
closed this couple in the Sloan's Lake area a year ago in August, and he emailed me about a month ago. Hey, got this email from the insurance company that our policy is pending cancellation. And I was like, no, that shouldn't happen because we have an escrow account set up for you, and it should automatically pay the insurance fee to renew your policy. And so they reached out to me yesterday and they're like, we're extremely frustrated because they're telling us our policy is canceled. And we received communication from the lender that the payment had been already made on behalf of us. And so we're not sure what the confusion was here. And so they were able to reach out to me directly. And I immediately got on the phone, started making calls, making sure that everything was covered because that is what I do for my clients. I be available for them. And when I have something set up in place that I know should be automatic and should be taken care of, and it's not, they don't have to sit on some 800 number and wait to like figure it out for, their insurance to be put back in place. I get in and handle that for them. I educate them again on, the escrow account automatically pays it once a year for insurance, and you shouldn't have to worry about it. And it was really nice to be able to touch base with that client. I haven't talked to him much since we closed a year ago, and he was totally cool with, he's like, I've seen you've been on it, and I know you were at the conference last week, and you were still emailing back and forth and getting a hold of, the insurance person that we were working with. And so I really love that, even though it's a very transactional business, I'm still there to support my clients when it comes to any questions they have in the future about their mortgage, their insurance, their taxes. However, they
Love
need my
it.
assistance. I'm happy to help.
Yeah, man. I love that extra mile. There's a lot of people out there that are just in the transactional basis with a lot of their clients, but we're developing relationships here. And I'm more for my curiosity, I kind of want to find out what happened. How come there was that discrepancy of, oh, you didn't pay, it's getting canceled, where's the payment, all that good stuff. What happened?
So they worked through an insurance broker. The broker set up their policy with Progressive, and somehow in the last year, and so when I set up their loan, I sent them to a lender that I know A, closes very quickly, and B, services their own loans. And when I say services their own loans, there's a lot of lenders that will sell your mortgage once you close to another lender to service it. And you'll get a notification letter of, hey, your loan was sold. Your mortgage was originally with Wells Fargo, but now it's with Chase Bank. And then you kind of have to go through a headache of getting it set up with the Chase Bank and making sure your payments go through. But I intentionally set them up with a lender that services their own loans so they wouldn't have to handle that headache because I know this lender doesn't sell them. And so what happened on the Progressive side is that they somehow changed the loan number. And so the policy was paid for, but Progressive's system didn't accept it because they had switched the loan number. And then we had to go through and send them confirmation of the payment, show that it was this loan number and not the loan number that they changed it to. And I don't know how that discrepancy exactly happened, but from my understanding, that's where we saw the lapse in their policy.
Gotcha. And so a lot of people that are listening to this, it may sound dry, but to me, like, this is stuff that even I deal with. Like, even with my property back in San Diego, on the deed or the transfer of the refinance, there, like, it's a duplex, and that second address didn't get included for the policy itself. So now I have to personally go through it and have that annual fee updated, like for that insurance for the second unit, and the first unit is in escrow. So that's why I was mainly really curious about this. Like, what the heck happened? Is it like my situation? It's like, am I the only one? Why is no one having this problem? But yeah, man, it's really interesting to see what kind of problems arise, and knowing that, hey, even if you don't know the direct answer, like square one, you take that extra effort to make sure that your future clients or your current clients are just happy. That's the big thing here. It's a relationship business that we're in, and the more that people realize it, the better their businesses are going to be. So with that said,
Definitely.
man,
And I think it also goes back to
sure.
building that kind of team that you're working with. And so you want to have a good insurance person, you want to have a good mortgage person, you want to have a good real estate agent, general contractor, electrician. Like, the more people, like, real estate is all about networking, and the more people that you know and trust and that will go that extra mile to solve any problem that comes up for you, and to be able to not have to stress about that as a buyer, I think is probably one of my biggest tips for people that are getting into it, is really try to find somebody that you can build trust with and know has your back should anything happen that you don't know or you don't understand and you need help understanding.
Nice. Love that wrap up, man. That's really good. And speaking of building your team, man, I know that you've been working a lot with Ben Roden as far as like even generating a podcast. It sounds like you guys have a lot of common values, wanting to work with the investor versus the residential buyer, primarily looking for, is this white countertops or whatever, like stuff that really does not matter personally to me, but nonetheless, I will help them if that's something that they're, if that's something they're looking for, I will definitely help them out with. But nonetheless, going back to Ben and your relationship, so the podcast, I know that you guys have done some recordings. What's it all about? And, when can people start hearing this?
Yeah, man, we're having such a fun time getting into the podcast space. For me, that's something that I think I've struggled with a lot in my own business is pushing out content. And a podcast is a great conduit for me because I'm not a big video person and like I don't really post pictures all that often unless I did something really cool, like go to a music festival. And so the podcast has been a way for me to have conversations with Ben around real estate. We don't, it's the unnamed podcast right now. We're still planning and preparing for it, but we are moving forward with recordings and just trying to get things in place so that once we do launch, we're shooting for a January launch, but we also talked last week about maybe releasing it sooner because it's been really, really fun to do a recording every week. And as long as we kind of are prepared and planned, I think we could probably launch it earlier. So we're shooting for January, maybe sooner, and it's all about investing, similar to, I guess, yours, but investing in Denver, but more broad than that too, of just like developing an investor mindset through either
Mm.
real estate. I also want to invite, financial planners on and kind of see different strategies for building your wealth for retirement, investing in the stock market, getting maybe a crypto specialist on there to, talk about how you can do crypto. Haven't thought about Forex. That's one that I still think might be a little bit scammy, or Amazon FBA. I'm not sure about that yet, but yeah, it's just been a really good way to know that we're creating content and still providing value for people. And then once we start releasing it, my ultimate, hope and goal is just that people learn something from the podcast. It's also a great way to do networking, like to have a conversation one on one like we are now. It just, I think, strengthens your relationship. And so
Mhm.
Ben and I feel like have started to really realize that we're on the same page. We both have similar aspirations, and we both are pretty knowledgeable in our designated areas. Him being a real estate agent, specifically working with a lot of investors, and then myself working with investor clients on the financing side. It's been a fun experience to kind of bounce back and forth and have fun conversations. So to be determined on release date, but definitely a fun work in progress that I'm excited to put out there for everybody.
Love to see it, man. I know Ben's also been working on just like presenting. I know he was over at Ziona's meetup just talking about short-term rentals or even just the market in general, right?
Mhm.
Maybe speak a little bit about that if you're familiar with it.
Yeah, so that was what our topic was on the podcast last week that we recorded. And we talked about, is now a good time to buy in this extremely volatile market with interest rates rising as quickly as they are. It's very intimidating, I think, for home buyers to see that their monthly mortgage payment is thousands of dollars more than it would have been a year ago. But we kind of talked about why it is still a good time and just kind of changing your perspective as to the advantages that you have in this market versus the market a year or 2 years ago. And so I think that's what his presentation was about for Ziona's meetup. I know that she is very big into the short-term rental, and she even has a book on the medium-term rental kind of space. And so for him, I think he was going there and just talking about what to expect in this market and what you should think about and kind of that different change of perspective moving forward, because we are going to see a big change and it's going to take time for it to cool off and settle back to more normal levels. But honestly, like, I think it's a great thing. Like, when you compare a year ago, people putting in offers $100,000 over the listing price, that's a
Hmm.
huge chunk of change to get an even look, like to get a listing agent to look at your offer. And so now we're in a market where your monthly payment is $1,000 more, but you're getting the house at list, or a lot of times right now I'm seeing clients go under below list. And so if you
Hmm.
think about it in kind of a longer term perspective, you get a 7% interest rate or whatever you qualify for, and you're paying $1,000 more each month than you would have if you had bought a year ago. Let's say you hold that interest rate for 2 years. You're paying $1,000 more for 2 years. That's $24,000 extra that you would have been paying for buying a house today. That's a win if you would have had to pay $100,000 a year ago, you know? And so just kind of changing your perspective of like, yeah, interest rates are higher and it sucks. But the reality is that in 2 years' time, we'll see interest rates drop back down and you can refinance and you can lower your monthly payment. This entire time in that 2 year period, you're building equity, you're gaining appreciation, you have tax benefits, you could do it as a house hack and mitigate your mortgage cost. And it's just, I think, things that people get scared of, the number, that 7% interest rate. It's like, no. Just change your perspective on it and see it's not a bad time. Like, I'm seeing so many clients get seller credits to buy down their interest rate even. And so if you are working with a knowledgeable real estate agent who knows how to negotiate those terms for you, then I don't think that there's much that you need to worry about in this market, because you'll find a house much easier.
Dude, I could not have said it better myself. That was brilliant. For everyone listening, I mean, that was the most valuable 2 minutes. If we could just have a podcast with just that 2 minutes, that was amazing, dude. I love it. So with I mean, I'm seeing it myself. Like, I feel like I've mentioned this a couple of times already on separate episodes, but I'm closing on one today. Just looking at what happened with the transaction itself. Yeah. Like, we went 10K under asking price and we got everything on the inspection list taken care of and then some. We also got like a 40-gallon water heater replaced. What else did we get? We got like the roof sealant. We got some patchwork done on there. I mean, like, you can almost ask for the world, and that upfront cost is no longer a huge factor, because now you just got to worry about, okay, how do I mitigate this mortgage as much as possible? House hack. You got to rent out those rooms or do something about it. And I guess in the grand scheme of things, if you are able to afford that mortgage, shoot, like you said, that's a win. So that is awesome. I'm glad that you're seeing the same thing too, Alex, and I can't wait for that podcast to come out. I'm a big supporter of anyone that's all about that financial independence space and investing in the Denver area as well. And for those of you who don't know Ben used to be, or at least still is, within the FI family, but he was a more active agent on the FI team. And I used to work with him a lot as far as like the retreats go and getting showings done with each other. So nonetheless, Ben's a great guy. And as you know, by Alex's expertise, it's a force to be reckoned with. So really excited about that podcast, man. So with that being said, man, I got nothing else for you, but is there anything you want to ask me? I'm going to turn the tables, give you the mic. And is there anything you want to ask me?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to go off of what you had just talked about with, winning all of these inspection items, because that's another point that we're seeing different from last year to this year. How do you feel about inspections now versus a year ago? Because I saw a lot of people just waiving inspections. And what is your opinion on doing things like that versus what we're seeing today?
Yeah. Waiving inspections is a hard no for me. I would not recommend my buyers to ever waive inspections. At the very least, I would put in my offers, like, we will not ask anything for the inspection. Like, buyer has the right to an inspection, but we will not ask for anything. And we have the right to terminate based on inspection. So basically, it's an all or nothing situation. That's what I would recommend, and that's how I wrote my offers. So I mean, that's very less risky for my buyers, because we definitely want to know what's wrong with the place before we buy it. Whether we ask for something in return, that was a conversation that I never had until June. Not until like well into my real estate career, where I was like, okay, now you're going to entertain my offer. That's sweet, with my inspection objections. That's cool. So I would never advise to waive inspections, but I would just get that wording in there of like, yeah, do the inspection, but terminate based on that. And you don't have to ask for anything in return.
I think that it's super smart, because there's so many things that you don't see as a buyer walking into a home, that inspector is going to be very thorough in checking. And then it's going to help you analyze if that's a good call for you. Because if there's something
Yeah.
like a foundational issue that you're not aware of, that's going to cost you 20 to 40 grand to fix, and you're not aware of that, you're just putting yourself in a precarious situation. Like, I wouldn't want a house that's going to have foundational issues and the whole structure is going to collapse. That would be not a good investment.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it all goes back to like, what's your risk tolerance? And is this something that you can either delay or take advantage of right now? Right. I mean, something like 15-year-old water heater, get it taken care of, you know. But let's say if it's 5 years old, you know, you got another maybe 5 years of life into it at the minimum. So it's all based on your risk tolerance, and also just talk with your agent. You know, they've done the things that you've wanted to do already, so they've seen these things in advance in other transactions. So use their knowledge to your advantage.
I like how you said that your agent has done things that you are wanting to do. I think that that's something that I would recommend, is if there's somebody who is house hacking or investing in multifamily homes, or, you know, has rental properties, and that's something that you see yourself doing, then that's a person that you want to work with, because they'll know how to guide you through. And most like agents that are doing that want to help you do that too. They want to see you succeed. And
Yep.
I feel like that's something that the FI team is very good at. You provide a lot of value in that, how to make real estate an investment type of path. And so that was another question that I had for you, is how did you get in with the FI team? How is it going with the FI team? And what do you love about the FI team?
Yeah. Oh man, where do I start? I guess when I first house hacked, I didn't even know like the concept of house hacking even existed. I mean, obviously, like when I was in college, I lived in a dorm with two other guys in a 300 square foot place. You know, like why not own the place and rent out all the bedrooms? Because college kids are going to have to live somewhere. You know, if they have to live under the stairs, start house hacking. You know. So, anywho, going back to the whole fight team aspect of it. In order for you to be a part of the fight team, you need to have an investment property, which makes the agents a little bit more legit when they're talking to with potential leads. You know, like how do I know I could trust you? I want to work with Craig. I'm like, well, I've done this house hack, I've had this investment property, and I also invest in multifamily properties. I'm like, okay, you sound legit. So that's another reason why I really like working with the fight team. It's not just like, hey, it's a transactional thing. It's a relationship. Like, I want to make sure that you're getting the biggest bang for your buck, and you're that much closer to financial independence, whether it's buying a really good property for your house hack, or not even a house hack. It doesn't have to be a house hack, but also an investment property itself, but also strategic selling. If you are getting bogged down with this property, you don't want to work with tenants anymore, 1031 exchange it and work it into like a commercial property that you can, have a property manage it, instead of having you dedicate all this time and effort into it when it's not the best use of your time, you know? So the fight team in itself, like, has just given me a whole bunch of resources, and the mindset shift of like what I mentioned before, like we have Ironman finishers on the team. Like, it not only brings out the best in my real estate portfolio, but it also brings out me, the personality, the person behind everything. Like, it gives me that third dimension. So that's also another reason why I like the FI team. It's like there's more to the person, or more to the agent, than the real estate portion of it. So all of that being said, they're also helping me out with this podcast too.
Love it, man. I mean, that was my last question too, is circling back to what you're doing in your personal life, and you're running this what did you say, 50K?
Yeah,
And
50K.
dude, that's super impressive. How are you going to train for that? What are you going to do? Like, and you get to do it in Colorado, which is pretty sweet. So you
Yeah.
got some running spots you're going to go to. Like, what does that training regimen look like for you?
Yeah. Well, training for day one is running, and running a lot. And that's pretty much my training regimen for the next 6 months. Just running more and
Nice.
more. And to be honest with you, like I think the biggest thing for me is for preparing for it. Like, sure, I know the training aspect of it, but diet. Like, how am I going to be replenishing those calories? Because for me, I'm a stick, man. Like I feel like I'm walking on stilts. I'm not. I'm pretty much skin and bones. You know. I mean, I'll give myself some credit. I'm a pretty lean guy, but I got to make sure that I'm eating enough calories to supplement a 20-mile day. You know, that's the biggest portion of it. And joining these running clubs, I feel like would get my knowledge base up without having to research online or watch YouTube videos. Like, meet these people, have conversations with people. You know, like 50K is about 32, 33 miles. I forgot the exact number, but that's not on pavement. It's on a trail. You know, that's another thing too. Like, how prepared do my ankles need to be? You know, like if I trip on a rock and my ankles give out, that's it. That's game over, you know? So there's a lot more to it than just running a lot. And I don't know what I don't know. So I need to know these things so I can better prepare myself for that 50K.
Mm-hmm. And any specific running trails that you're thinking you're going to train on?
For sure. I recently discovered the power of Green Mountain over in Lakewood. It's just a fun one and pretty close. That is a really good trail running spot. And Mount Falcon, not too far away from me, over in Ken
That's a
Carroll
tough
area.
one. Uh-huh.
Yeah, no joke. I think if anything, it's just more for like building the quads than anything for me.
For sure.
And calves. And then
For sure.
having the clubs, like knowing where other people go to. That's something that I want to build up my knowledge base as well. And training during the winter, I have not like seriously have done it. So that's going to be new to me as well. And will I have numb toes at the end of the run? Most likely. And am I mentally prepared for it? Yeah, I'm ready to take on that beating, you know?
Hell yeah, man. Dude, I'm excited for you. That's going to be such an accomplishment, and I wish you the best of luck in training for it and completing the race. When is the race date again, you said?
Yeah, I'm holding myself accountable. And for all you listeners out there, it's April 30th, the Cheyenne Trail. So it's over in the Colorado Springs area. And not only do I have to run at elevation, but I have to run with elevation in the course as well. So I got to train for it all. April 30th, 2023.
All right, man. I'll be rooting for you on April 30th.
Nice. Thanks, man. Well, I appreciate all of your time, Alex. I mean, this is really good stuff. And it's about time we had a loan officer on here just talking about mortgage rates, the mindset behind it, what you got going on, and the whole real estate industry in general. So I appreciate your time, man. So if anyone were to reach out to you, what's the best place to reach out to you? Maybe your email, Instagram handle, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I would say sending me an email is definitely going to be the fastest way to get something coordinated with me. I prefer getting on a phone call and having a direct conversation with somebody. So sending me an email, my email is alext@aslanhlc.com. And my Instagram handle is another good way. You can just direct message me. It's AlexTurner1818.
Nice. And I'm Ian Real Estate Agent. I'm on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I post weekly videos. I got vlog tours all about house hacking and investment properties and all that good stuff. And that's all on YouTube. And this will be on YouTube as well. So I hope Alex took a shower, and obviously he looks great already. So luckily you can't smell him. But please leave a rating, review, comment, like, subscribe, follow, or whatever people are doing these days. We want to make sure that the people of Denver are listening to this and getting the most value out of their community. So this is the Invest in Denver podcast, a Fight Team production hosted by yours truly, Ian Jimeno. See ya.